Hello everyone, and welcome back to my increasingly lengthy journey of trying to create a city builder game from scratch using my own engine. This week I'm getting back into it and I'll be implementing gardens and doing some work on the save game system. So the last devlog video was a long time ago now, which I'm really sorry about. After the health issues I had earlier this year, the 2 lung operations, I was struggling a bit. But things have improved a lot in the last month or so. My last health checkups were all completely fine, so I've been able to concentrate much better on game development again. I've been making lots more progress, and I'm just hoping I can have a nice fresh start now. So I'm going to get on with some programming now, and I will show you what I'm up to in a bit. So the first thing that I want to do this week is to fix a bit of an issue that I have with the lack of greenery that there is when you're building your town, because when you place a building, its foundation takes up the whole grid square. So very quickly, as you can see, you start to lose all of the greenery and it just becomes a bit of a concrete jungle. And I wish there was more space for gardens and just general greenery and trees. So I want to make a bit of a change. And I saw this image here, which I thought looked quite nice. So I'm going to try and implement something like this, where the foundation doesn't necessarily take up the whole square. Instead, it can be something like this, where the foundation is under the house and then maybe there's a path, but there's also space for garden. So that's my first task this week. So the foundations are generated in the code, and up until now I've always just been generating that simple square foundation. But now I want to be able to specify any sort of shape, and then the foundation generator should be able to generate the foundation in that shape. And that's what I've been getting working this morning, so I can show you that in the code here. So here I'm specifying the shape by listing out its vertices and triangles. I then give that shape to the mesh generator, and that then generates the foundation mesh in that shape. And you can see that in the game here. The foundation is the correct shape. It's a 3D mesh that's risen up to the height of the pavement, and it's all looking good. The problem is, of course, that I don't want to have to manually type out the shapes for every single foundation, for every single building in the game. So I need to work on a solution for that next. Coming up to lunchtime now, and I've just been working on a system which will allow me to create the shapes of the foundations in Blender, and then I can extract the shape information from that instead of having to manually type it out myself. So that's working nicely, as you can see here. So I'm just going to stop for lunch in a minute, and then I'm going to go out with Rufus, who is a lot bigger than when you last saw him, but then it has been so long since the last devlog video that he's literally doubled in age. But he's doing great, he's very happy, and it's been so lovely having him around. The next step with the foundations is to get them to automatically connect up with any roads that are next to them. So I've been working a bit on that, and I've also just been creating a new house model. I wanted to make one that actually takes advantage of all this new foundation stuff and has space for front gardens, and I'm just adding the finishing touches to this at the moment. So I worked on the connecting stuff for the rest of the day, and the first part of that was to work out which bits of the foundation should be connecting with roads. And the way that I've got that to work is that if this is the shape of the foundation here, I wrote some code which looks through all of the outside edges of the foundation and checks to see if they match up with the outline of the grid square, and if they do, then those are the edges that can connect to nearby roads. So now that I know which edges of the foundation should be connecting, I can start implementing those connections tomorrow. I've already been making some good progress on this connecting stuff this morning, and you can see these new houses are connecting up correctly with the pavement of the roads, but it currently only works with straight roads, and I can show you why that's the case here. So with straight roads, creating the connections is very simple. If this is the connecting edge of the foundation, then all I have to do is extend that connecting edge down towards the road. And same here, this is the connecting edge. All I do is extend that edge up to the edge of the pavement, and that's the connection created. For curved roads, it's a bit more complicated because how should they connect? Should it be something like this, but then you get a weird diagonal edge? Or the other option would be to do something like this, but that leaves this little corner sticking out. I'm not really sure, so I'm working on that at the moment. So these corner roads turned out to be a real pain. It took a lot of scribbling in my book, but I have now got them working somewhat nicely. So you can see here the houses are now connecting to the corners, and the way that I did it in the end was that when you place a house next to a corner road, it just squares off the pavement, and that makes the whole situation a lot more simple. So all the connections are now working except for one situation where you place a house like this in the corner of some roads. Because the foundation connects to this road, it connects to this road, but then there's a little bit of this corner road that is still missing. So I'm going to fix that next, as soon as I've had some lunch. So that issue of the corners is now fixed, which means that all of the foundations are now working correctly, and I think they're looking pretty nice. If I just quickly show you the corner thing working, you can see that here. If I go into mesh view, you can see the corner of that pavement extending out to fill up that gap. And yeah, that's the end of this little update to do with foundations. It gives me a lot more possibilities in the creation of these buildings, and makes more space for gardens, more greenery. It's all good. I just want to quickly show you a bit of a side project I've been working on recently. I've been trying to learn how to program Android apps because I really wanted to make an app to help me keep track of when to water my plants, because I've got lots of plants, they all need watering at different times, and sometimes it's a bit hard to keep track of what needs watering when. So I've been working on this app here. It's got all of my plants in it, ordered by when they next need to be watered. Each plant says when it was last watered, how often it should be watered, and then when I water my plants, I just tap on the ones that I've watered. I would then press the water button, and that would then update their info. And if I want to add a new plant, I press this plus button here. That then opens up the camera, so I can then take a picture of the new plant, and it then gives me some options to add some information about the plant, which I can do, and then I can add it to the app, and that adds it to the bottom of the list here. So that's just a little something I've been working on recently, and I'm just going to do a bit more work on it this evening. Just finishing up for the evening now, just about to have some dinner, and my plan for the next few days is to finish off all of the loose ends to do with the whole vehicle road update, which I've been working on forever now, but it's almost done, just a few loose ends to do and bugs to fix. So I'm going to do that. I'm probably not going to film it because it's mostly going to be boring, so I will see you again in a few days. Good morning everyone, it's a few days later now, and by a few days I mean a couple of weeks, because it all took a little bit longer than expected, as it always does. But it was all good stuff, all worth it. Mostly important changes to the code structure, but one interesting thing that I did was to fix the way that cars park. Previously they would quite often swerve wildly across the road to park on the wrong side, but that's now been fixed. So with that, if we have a look in Trello at the plan, the vehicles update is now complete, finally. So I'm going to be moving on to version 0.0.8, which is going to be all about the save game system, saving your town, saving your progress, and loading it up again. So that's what I'm going to get started on today, right after I've had my breakfast. This morning I've been implementing the absolute fundamentals of the save system, so things like creating a new save file and then reading and writing byte data to and from it. And I can demonstrate that to you here in the code. So you can see here I'm initializing the save system. I then use it to create a new save called my first save, and I'm then going to write some byte data to it, which is just going to be this message converted to bytes. And you can see I then save that data to the save file. So if I run that, it creates this new save file over on the right, and hopefully it's saved that message to it. And then here we're going to try and load that message back up. So I get the most recent save file from the save system, I then load up the byte data that it contains, and I convert that byte data into a string, which is hopefully going to be the message that I previously saved to it. And if I run that, you can see that it does indeed print out the correct message. So reading and writing data to a save file works. That's obviously the absolute basics, but it's a good start. I need to get some lunch now, and then I'm probably going on a bike ride because the weather's nice at the moment, and then I'll keep working on this afternoon. Next, I'm doing some work on the UI for the save system. So in the main menu, I'm implementing the new town and the load town screens, and I've just done the new town screen. So this is where all the settings for creating a new town are going to be. Obviously at the moment there's just one setting, which is the town name. So you can input that and then press the button down at the bottom here, which creates a new empty world and also creates a new save file. And while I've been implementing this, I've also been updating my UI library because I'm using my own UI library to do this, which is still quite new, so it doesn't have a lot of things like a text field it didn't have, so I just had to do my implementation for that, which went a lot better than the implementation that I had in Equilinox, my previous game. The UI library that I'd made for that was a lot less easy to use, especially when it came to things like animations and transitions. It didn't really have any support for that at all, so even implementing something like a flashing cursor was quite a pain, whereas now I can quite easily do that in a single line. So far it's been quite a nice, painless experience. So I've just finished implementing the load town screen into the main menu. By the way, the whole design of the main menu at the moment is still temporary, especially the background. I'll definitely change that at some point. So it's just the basics for now. You can see in the load town screen it shows all of the saves that you have. The image next to each save is going to be an image of the actual town, and then you can just go ahead and select the town you want and either load up that town or delete it. The load town button doesn't do anything yet because I'm still not actually saving any of the town information to the save files. That's what I'm going to be working on over the next week or so, but it's a bit late to start on that today, so I think for the rest of the evening I'm just going to do a bit of relaxing low poly model making. So that's going to be it for this video, and I think probably for this year as well. So I hope you all have a fantastic time over the holidays and a great start to the new year. My plan is that at the start of next year I'll be completely back to my normal schedule and making regular devlog videos, lots of updates, lots of progress. So I'm looking forward to that, and sorry again that I've been gone for so long. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching this video. Have a wonderful time over Christmas, and I will see you all next year.